In the previous video, we learned about the normal summon and set, as well as the tribute summon and set, which can only be done once per turn. We also learned about the flip summon, which can be done as many times as you want, as long as you can get monsters on the field that are into face-down defense position. Both of these summons take a significant amount of time to perform. Most players opt to play many special summons. There is no restriction on the number of times you can special summon in a single turn. You can special summon as many times as you can as long as you have the ability to do so based on the cards available to you. There are two types of special summons. Ones that can be done by activating a card effect, these start a chain, and then ones that can be made without activating a card effect that do not start a chain. We will start by talking about the ones that activate and start a chain. Our first example will be the Wandering Griffin Rider. Let's take a look at its card text. It says, during the main phase, if you control no monsters or control an adventure token, quick effect, meaning this effect is a quick effect. Colon. You'll notice there's a colon next to the word quick effect. That means that this card activates. During the main phase, if you control no monsters or control an adventure token is the condition to activate this card's effect. Its effect is, you can special summon this card from your hand. Special summons must be performed in either face-up attack or face-up defense position and must be summoned to a main monster zone unless the monster is being summoned from the extra deck. This card has additional effects, but we're not focusing on those for the remainder of this video. Another example would be Fire Flint Lady. Fire Flint Lady also has an activation condition. It says, if you control a warrior monster, colon. So the condition to activate the effect of Fire Flint Lady is to control a warrior. Its effect is, you can special summon this card from your hand. Fire Flint Lady does not say quick effect, therefore this is an ignition effect and can only be used during the main phase. Monster Reborn is a spell card that allows you to target one monster in either player's graveyard. That is prior to a semicolon, therefore it is the activation condition for this card, and then its effect is to special summon it. So Monster Reborn is the type of card that can actually be used to special summon a monster other than itself, as it is not a monster. Omni Dragon Brotar has an effect that says if this card would be destroyed by battle or by an opponent's card effect, colon, meaning this is the activation condition, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. Because Brotar's activation condition is when something happens, Brotar's condition, Omni Dragon Brotar is actually a trigger effect, whereas Griffin Rider is a quick effect, and Fire Flint Lady was an ignition effect. Monster Reborn is a normal spell card, which is similar to an ignition effect. By the very nature of how fusion monsters work, they are summoned by activating a spell card that would perform a fusion summon, or activating a monster or trap effect that performs a fusion summon. So summoning a fusion monster will generally start a chain. The same goes for ritual monsters. In order to summon a ritual monster, you have to activate the ritual spell card, either associated with that ritual monster, or one that can be used to summon any ritual monster, or ritual monsters that fit a particular criteria. Now there are some exceptions. I'd like to address two of them here. One of them is Elder Entity NTES. It is a fusion monster, whose fusion materials are one synchro and one exeme monster, and it says it must be special summoned from your extra deck by sending the above cards you control to the graveyard. You do not use polymerization. This implies that Elder Entity NTES's summon does not start a chain, as you do not have to activate a card to summon it, you just send the materials to the graveyard. This is our first of our types of monsters that we can summon without starting a chain. Our next one is Thunder Dragon Colossus. Thunder Dragon Colossus says it must be fusion summoned, which you can do with a fusion spell, or you can simply special summon it during the turn a Thunder monster's effect was activated in the hand, by tributing one Thunder effect non-fusion monster, in which case you would not use polymerization. So the Thunder Dragon Colossus has an alternative summoning mechanic that allows you to summon it without activating a card effect. Necessarily to summon it. You do need to activate a Thunder monster in hand to summon it that way. But Thunder Dragon Colossus can also be summoned by using a fusion spell card. Thunder Dragon Fusion is usually used to summon Thunder Dragon Colossus. But more often than not, players will summon Thunder Dragon Colossus using its alternative summoning condition, as it does not start a chain and does not require you to have a spell card. So cards that do not require you to activate other cards or have cost tend to be better than cards that do. Now we'll talk about how to identify if a card starts a chain when you summon it. We kind of addressed this a little bit with Elder Entity NTES as well as Thunder Dragon Colossus. If a monster has a colon on it, it's an indicator that it activates. Anything before the colon is its activation condition. Synchro summons and Exe summons are actually game mechanic summons. They're summons that you're allowed to perform because they're in the rulebook that you can perform them. You do not activate an effect to summon a Synchro or an Exe monster, although there are cards that can be activated that would do that, but the very act of just performing a Synchro summon or an Exe summon does not start a chain. Link summons also do not start a chain. You send the monsters that you require to the graveyard and perform a Link summon. A Pendulum summon is also a game mechanic summon. All players have the ability to do one Pendulum summon per turn as long as they can create a pendulum scale. The declaration of a Pendulum summon does not start a chain, although activating the pendulum scales in the first place will start chains, but they do not activate to summon the monster. Next, there are main deck monsters. Now, main deck monsters sometimes have an effect that allows them to summon themselves. For instance, one of the first ones that players used to play is called Cyber Dragon. The condition on Cyber Dragon says if only your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon this card, in parentheses, from your hand. Whenever you see a card says it can be special summoned without a colon, that is generally a sign that it does not activate to summon. You simply can perform this action to summon the monster. Whatever appears in the parentheses is the location in which the card can be summoned from. Monsters whose effect activate to summon them from a particular location will not usually have parentheses telling you where you can summon them from. They'll usually have it in their activation condition, which again occurs before the colon or semicolon. Our next card is Infernoid Seismos, and I wanted to address this card specifically, as well as Cyber Dragon, because of a significant difference in the way they work. Cyber Dragon can be normal summoned, therefore its ability to special summon itself is technically an effect. It's just an effect that does not activate. Cards like monster effects that do not activate are sometimes called continuous, in some cases they are called unclassified, as Cyber Dragon's effect is not really a continuous effect, as being on the field face up does not mean you can special summon it from your hand. Therefore its effect is unclassified. Infernoid Seismos cannot be normal summoned or set, and it must be special summoned from your hand or your graveyard by banishing 2 Infernoid monsters from your hand or your graveyard. As we can see, this card does not have a colon on it, and it says where it can be summoned from in parentheses, therefore this is a non-activated summoning condition. But because this card has no way to be normal summoned or set and can only be special summoned in this way, this is technically not an effect. This is just the way in which this card is summoned. Let's briefly look at the card Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike says when a monster would be special summoned, you can negate the summon and destroy the card. I'm ignoring the part about when a monster effect is activated because that's not the part I want to focus on. When a card says that it can negate the summon of a monster, it means it can negate the summon of a monster that did not enter the field by an activated card effect, such as Cyber Dragon, Infernoid Seismos, a Link monster, a Synchro monster, or a Pendulum summon. The summon as a result of a card effect is a card effect, and you can negate the card effect using Solemn Strike if it were a monster effect. But a monster summoned as a result of a card effect is not the special summon of a monster, rather the summon as a result of a card effect successfully resolving. In our next video, we'll be learning about spell cards.